Welcome to the next lesson in the Spanish Master Course. By this point of the course, you should be creating your own sentences, talking about what you want to do, what you have to do, what you can do, and that's also how you ask for permission. Can I do this? Can I do that? Using the constructions that I showed you. And you should also be working in your own vocabulary, because that's the point. You don't want to sound like a parrot. You want to be able to talk about whatever you want. So by understanding these patterns, you can learn a new word and just pop it right in. And in the case of I want to, or I have to, or I can, if we're talking about verbs we're attaching, we don't even have to conjugate them. That's what makes it so nice. For example, let's say I look up the word for to rest, and I learn it's descansar, descansar. So I just have this word. Well, I can pop it into what I've already learned. So let's practice that. I want to rest. This is where you talk. You got to participate. Quiero descansar. Quiero descansar. How about I have to rest? Tengo que descansar. Tengo que descansar. How about you ask, can I rest? Puedo descansar. Puedo descansar. See? That's how it works. Well, today I'm going to show you another useful construction you can just pop verbs into, and I think you're going to be able to use it right away because it uses a verb you've already learned. Here's our construction. Ir plus a plus infinitive, going to do something. We use the same construction in English, right? I'm going to wash the car. Well, in Spanish we can do that. Voy a lavar el carro, or el coche. It just follows this simple pattern. And you already learned how to conjugate ir in the present tense, at least in the first and second person. So translate this. I'm going to the store. Voy a la tienda. You're going to the store. Vas a la tienda. So we have our words, voy and vas. We're going to plug them right in there, and we could say, well, whatever we want. So let's say I want to translate, I'm going to rest. What do you got? Voy a descansar. Voy a descansar. You're going to rest. Vas a descansar. Vas a descansar. You've got this. You got this. And of course, you can work in your TION, CION cognate trick to come up with your own sentences. For example, I'm going to confirm the information. You want to take some time with that one? I think you got that. Voy a confirmar la información. Voy a confirmar la información. Where did confirmar come from? Our TION, CION cognate trick, right? First we thought confirmation. We change it to confirmación. If it ends in acción, we can make it a verb, right? Confirmar. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back to lesson 2 and it explains how that trick works, all right? All right, let's work in some other verbs here, stuff you're probably going to say, like what are we doing now? We're practicing Spanish. So let's learn that verb. Practicar, practicar, and that's to practice. And if we're going to practice Spanish, it would be practicar español. Now we can just plug it in. And if I want to say I'm going to practice Spanish, how would I do that? Voy a practicar español. Wow. How about you're going to ask somebody, are you going to practice Spanish? ¿Vas a practicar español? ¿Vas a practicar español? And if we're writing our question, all we're going to do is put an upside down question mark at the front and a regular one at the back, right? Now, the way I suggest you practice these patterns is all together. Just have like a self-dialogue. And then go on to, I want to practice Spanish. Go ahead. Quiero practicar español. I have to practice Spanish. Tengo que practicar español. Can I practice Spanish? ¿Puedo practicar español? Now you can just plug in different verbs to practice different things. For example, let's use to eat, comer. I'm going to eat. Voy a comer. I want to eat. Quiero comer. I have to eat. Tengo que comer. Can I eat? ¿Puedo comer? Now you can make things more complex if you work in some question words. For example, what is qué? What do you want to eat? ¿Qué quieres comer? What are you going to eat? ¿Qué vas a comer? Ah, see the new construction there. It's not that tough, right? What if I'm going to answer, I'm going to eat bread, and bread is pan. Voy a comer pan. Voy a comer pan. So you're just making your own sentences. Back to our question words. Let's say we're going to have where? ¿Dónde? Where do you want to eat? ¿Dónde quieres comer? Where are you going to eat? ¿Dónde vas a comer? And then we have when. ¿Cuándo? When are you going to eat? ¿Cuándo vas a comer? You see, we're just popping these things together to say whatever we want in Spanish. That's how this course works, and I think that's the easiest way for an adult to learn a foreign language, because you already have a language, right? You speak English. It's your paradigm. And you're comparing this new language to it. So if I show you a pattern, you can logically take your language and your understanding of language and repeat the pattern to say what you want. And as you learn new vocabulary, you can just pop it into these patterns, to these little plug-and-play phrases to say all kinds of different things. And a lot of times you'll be coming up with sentences you may never have seen or heard before, but they will be grammatically correct. I mean, you know the pattern, but you've never actually said, I want to rest, or I want to eat breakfast. But I learned to eat breakfast is desayunar. I plugged it in, quiero desayunar. I want to eat breakfast. That's how it works. Now, one of the most useful Spanish verbs out there is hacer, which is to make or to do. And we'll be talking about it a lot in different lessons because it's just used in so many different ways. But we're going to keep it very simple right now, and we're just going to use the definition of to do. And if I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do? How would I say that? ¿Qué quieres hacer? ¿Qué quieres hacer? See? I just learned hacer. I'm plugging it in. I come up with the sentence. ¿Qué quieres hacer? What if I want to ask, what do you want to do today? ¿Qué quieres hacer hoy? ¿Qué quieres hacer hoy? What if I want to ask, what do you have to do today? ¿Qué tienes que hacer hoy? ¿Qué tienes que hacer hoy? What if I want to ask, what can you do today? ¿Qué puedes hacer hoy? ¿Qué puedes hacer hoy? And, the construction from today. What are you going to do today? ¿Qué vas a hacer hoy? ¿Qué vas a hacer hoy? Now, with that last one, you didn't hear the individual syllables. It wasn't like, ¿qué vas a hacer hoy? When you said it all together, those two A's just meshed into a single sound. ¿Qué vas a hacer hoy? ¿Qué vas a hacer hoy? So just be aware of that. And of course, you can answer these questions and come up with your own dialogues. For example, something from the last lesson. When I ask you, ¿qué vas a hacer hoy? What are you going to do today? You can say, I'm going to go to the store to buy bread. Can you do that one? Voy a ir a la tienda a comprar pan. Voy a ir a la tienda a comprar pan. And if you had trouble with that one, bounce back to the last lesson and watch that one again, all right? Well, that's the end of this lesson. I do have an exercise for this particular lesson. It's located over in the Qroo Spanish Crew on the school platform. So I encourage you to do those exercises. You'll also find a lesson summary over there that you can add to your study guide or whatever you're working on. Thank you very much for being members of the Qroo Spanish Crew, and until next time, hasta luego.